Before this guy
He's eating eclairs out of a garbage can?
Yeah, so what? I ate an eclair out of the garbage can.
was this guy.
These pretzels are making me thirsty!
He was this guy.
I'm talking quarter pound of beef on the hot side.
Out there selling hamburgers. And not just any hamburger, but the latest and greatest in food package technology from McDonald's. The McDLT, which
The hot.
Keeps the hot, hot. Keeps the cool.
Keeps the cool.
but ultimately ended with just kind of a room temperature reception. The hot side. It's the 1980s and it's the golden age of fast food in the United States. Fast food was no longer just a convenience meal. It was being woven into the broader fabric of proper American dining culture. This golden age for consumers meant an all-out battle amongst the brands, with the so-called burger wars shaping the decade and ultimately cementing McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King as the sort of holy trinity of burger chains in the US. The burger wars were caused in part due to a turning point where brand growth could no longer be achieved by just geographic expansion. Rather, brands needed to fight for market share and therefore needed to find points of differentiation. The simple menus of burgers, cheeseburgers, and fries of the past quarter century gave way to increasingly more complex menu items and promotions to try to lure customers away from competitors. McDonald's was still the undisputed leader, but Burger King took a shot for the crown with the Whopper.
It takes two hands to handle the Whopper. The bigger the burger, the better
It was flame broiled rather than flat top fried, and had fresh lettuce and tomato on top. I actually forget that McDonald's, even to this day, doesn't really mess with lettuce and tomato. McDonald's core products, quarter pounders, McDoubles, hamburgers, have only pickles and diced onions, and even the Big Mac just adds shredded lettuce. Only when you get to the deluxes do you unlock tomatoes, and even then you're still stuck with shreddis. So McDonald's entered, as they made sure to clearly define for you, the quote-unquote lettuce and tomato burger category
Best tasting lettuce and tomato hamburger ever.
with the McDLT. But this wasn't just a Whopper copycat. They wanted to elevate the lettuce and tomato burger experience. Let's just have McDonald's explain the idea to you.
Lettuce and tomatoes are very delicate. If they get warm, they get all soggy and pathetic looking. So I keep them in their own compartment in my refrigerator. McDonald's does the same thing with their McDLT. The burger stays hot on the McOven side, and the McFridge side keeps the lettuce and tomato cool and crisp.
McDonald's went big on the launch, reportedly spending $100 million to market this single item as an all-out effort to crush the Whopper. And they dialed the price in well, coming in at $1.49 for the burger, or a little under $4 today, below the price of a Big Mac, which signaled good value, but a high enough price that this still felt like a premium menu item. And they brought in plenty of celebrities. Jason Alexander, of course, as well as Aretha Franklin and William Refrigerator Perry. They loved repeating their jingle, which also doubled as an instruction manual, trying to portray assembling your own burger as a feature of the product.
You put McDLT together, so it's always fresh, never soggy, and totally delicious.
Rather than shifting of the labor. They even basically made the same commercial multiple times, but just changed the vibe each time.
Keeps the new McDLT. Could be the best tasting lettuce and tomato hamburger ever.
The beef stays hot, the cool stays crisp, it's the hottest taste, the coolest taste.
Could be the best lettuce and tomato hamburger ever.
McDLT.
Could be the best tasting lettuce and tomato hamburger ever.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
And they even tried some left field emotional plays. This one, the bond between a boy and his dog, just like the bond between hot beef patties and cool lettuce and tomatoes, I guess.
McDonald's new McDLT.
Also, Burger King basically just committed unforced error after unforced error in response to the McDLT. They launched their $40 million Where's Herb campaign in response, where they told customers to say, "I'm not Herb," at any Burger King to get a 99-cent Whopper deal.
I'm not not her!
I'm not her.
And remember, a 99-cent Whopper when you buy fries and a medium Pepsi, just for saying.
Which was such a disaster the campaign was pulled after only 3 months. They fired their longtime agency who came up with it, and then fell into a creative death spiral for years afterwards trying to claw their way back. So while the McDLT, all in all, was pretty well received by customers and helped lift McDonald's to some decade-high returns, the momentum against it started to slowly build up until it reached a head at the end of the decade. The cool side. First of all, the burger itself was very complicated, both for the kitchen and also for the customer. McDonald's kitchens were set up to keep wrapped burgers at temperature in warming trays. Obviously that didn't work with a double-wide container that half needs to be kept cool. McDonald's started to introduce split temperature racks at some locations, but the rollout was uneven and many locations reportedly had makeshift solutions, including balancing the containers on the rails of the heating trays to try to keep the cool side cool. For the customer, what at first may be a interesting novelty slamming your burger together yourself, eventually sort of belies the idea of fast food, which is a prepared meal I can enjoy now, not something to assemble myself. It's something certainly made for takeout and eating at home. It would be kind of completely unhinged to try to assemble this thing in the car and then eat it on the go. They also forgot to melt the cheese. Prioritizing form over function, the cheese was relegated to the cool side for allegedly aesthetic reasons, therefore never having the opportunity to actually melt and meld flavors with the patty. Nothing like a cold piece of American cheese on your hamburger. But the killer issue that in many ways was a signal of the times to come was the non-recyclable styrofoam packaging that was essential to the McDLT experience. Styrofoam is a really great insulator, and so it kept the hot side hot and the cool side cool very effectively. McDonald's even filed a patent for the package. But styrofoam also has the small unfortunate problem of being made of several hazardous chemicals, including the use of ozone-depleting chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, as blowing agents that put the foam in styrofoam. Styrofoam is also effectively not recyclable, which led to a nationwide McToxics campaign to try to force McDonald's to drop the packaging material. McDonald's tried one of the first attempts at greenwashing by introducing McRecycling, which claimed that they would collect used styrofoam and recycle it, which many pointed out that contaminated styrofoam was basically infeasible and uneconomical to recycle. So McDonald's finally folded and in 1990 collaborated with the Environmental Defense Fund and pledged to eliminate its styrofoam packaging.
McDonald's has announced it will eliminate the plastic foam containers,
which they did actually quite effectively, ultimately removing some 300 million pounds of packaging waste and converting over to cardboard packaging instead. But unfortunately, the thin cardboard packaging of the time they used as a replacement doesn't have the same insulating properties as styrofoam, and thus the McDLT was sunsetted. And can't forget to mention, the McDLT was also not ADA compliant.
The sun was in my eyes.
The sun.
Oh, this is great.
Are you, using this fry?
Come on, guys. Give me a hand.
So did you ever have the McDLT? Did it live up to the jingle, or was it just a lukewarm burger? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more food stories and disasters, make sure to like and subscribe. Until next time.